Genesis 19, verse 1. Sodom's depravity. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Here now, my lords, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. And they said, No, but we will spend the night in the open square. But he insisted strongly, so they turned in to him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them carnally. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him, and said, Please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. See now, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Please, let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. Then they said, This one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So they pressed hard against the man, Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door. Let's read commentary here, verses 1 through 11. Commentary is coming from the Tony Evans Bible Commentary. Let's get some music to liven up the stream. There we go. Okay. So we're going to read commentary now. Verses 1 through 11, right? 1 through 11. And it's going to lead into the next few verses. So verse 1 through 5. The text shifts from Abraham's conversation to the angel's journey into Sodom. And immediately we see a contrast in the hospitality that these angels are offered. Yes, Lot prepared a feast and baked unleavened bread for them, but it was not long before the men of the city of Sodom, both young and old, began pounding on Lot's door, demanding to release the men so they could have sex with them. The outcry against Sodom, it seems, took only a few hours to prove its claim. Sodom had descended into such a den of sin that visitors to the city could not be left in public, alone for even a few hours without fear of being raped. Initially, we might view Lot sympathetically. After all, he saw two men in danger and brought them in. He took a great risk in doing so. What he does next, however, shows how much of Sodom's wicked culture he had absorbed. In his attempt to protect his angelic guests, Lot offered to give the lustful, riotous crowd his two daughters, so that they could be raped instead. We are, and should be, repulsed by such an offer, which reveals Lot's moral ties to Sodom, as well as his failure to believe that God would protect him. This contrast becomes all the more plain once the angels themselves strike the crowd with blindness, thankfully preventing Lot from following through on his disgusting plan. With the mob beating down Lot's door, the angels decided to reveal God's plan to Lot. We are about to destroy this place, they warned. If you have anyone else here, anyone who wants to rescue, now is the time to get them out. Lot tried, but was met with confusion and laughter from his daughters' husbands when he extended the invitation for them to leave town with him. There is no more dangerous place to be than hearing the warnings of God and shrugging them off as if they were a joke. Let's continue reading scripture. Verse 12 of Genesis 19. Oh, did I hit the record? There we did. Yes, we did. Verse 12. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Then the men said to Lot, Have you anyone else here, son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Take them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the outcry against them has grown great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws, who had married his daughters, and said, Get up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But to his sons sons-in-law, he seemed to be joking. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, "Arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city." And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. So it came to pass, when they had brought them outside, that he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed." Then Lot said to them, "Please, no, my lords. Indeed, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil overtake me and I die. See now that this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live." And he said to him, "See, I have favored you concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen up upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Let's read commentary here. And this is for verses 15 through 29. So the potential son-in-laws refused to leave Sodom because they did not believe God's wrath was real. But even Lot, the reason for this rescue mission, hesitated to leave when the time came. The angels had to drag him, his wife, and his daughters out of the city by hand because they were all too attached to it. They had become comfortable in a city that rejected God and his laws. Lot's wife showed the most hesitant and received the due punishment for it. Even though the angels strictly warned them, "Don't look back and don't stop anywhere on the plain," Lot's wife paused to look back and instantly became a pillar of salt. She thus became a permanent monument of the consequences of disobedience and worldliness. Only because of God's promise to Abraham were Lot and his 2 daughters, a mere 3 people out of the entire city, saved from destruction. The story of Sodom's destruction, while it clearly shows God's judgment against homosexuality, offers a much larger warning. In Luke 17:32, Jesus charged us to remember not the evil men of Sodom, but Lot's wife, because our chief temptation is to become too attached to this world. Jesus teaches us to be in the world, working for the good of our neighbors, but not attached to the world in sinful ways, contaminated by its rebellion against God. Let's read, let's continue the scripture in verse 30. The descendants of Lot. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come into us as is the custom of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. It happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, "Indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father." Then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day, and the younger. She also bore a son, and called him Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Let's read commentary here. Verse 19, verse 30 to 38. So here we read, the conclusion to Lot's story is a pitiful one. His daughters, with their fiancés now dead, were so concerned about their marriage prospects that they devised a scheme to get Lot drunk and have sex with him. The plan worked, and both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. However, as with every scheme cooked up in the minds of sinful man, this success would eventually turn out to be a disaster. The two sons these daughters produced, Moab and Ben-Ammi, would become the patriarchs of the Moabites and Ammonites, ongoing enemies of God's people. When we try to solve God's problems for him, we only create more problems for ourselves. Wow. That concludes Genesis 19. Stay tuned for Genesis 20.